If you are a Kenyan citizen or you live in Kenya at the moment, take note of these important changes. Number 1, initially to replace a lost national identity card, it only costed you 100 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment you'll have to part with 2,000 Kenyan shillings in accordance to the Registration of Persons Act Cap 107. For those who've never registered as Kenyan citizens, like maybe they've not reached the age of 18 or they've not registered for their own personal reasons, initially it wasn't costing you anything, but at the moment you'll have to part with 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Change of particulars in your national identity card initially was 1,000, but that one has remained, it's still 1,000. For the civil servants, initially it only costed them 100 Kenyan shillings to get a civil servant's card, but at the moment it will only cost the civil servants 1,000 Kenyan shillings to get the civil servant's card. Staff badges, initially it was 350 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment it will cost you 1,000 Kenyan shillings only to get the staff badges. For those who are planning to get married officially, like they plan to register their marriage as an official marriage, they'll have to part with 100,000 Kenyan shillings from the previous amount of 30,000 Kenyan shillings. Under citizenship fees, initially it costed 5,000 Kenyan shillings for regaining citizenship under Section 10. At the moment, it will only cost you 50,000 Kenyan shillings to regain citizenship. Dual citizenship declaration will cost 10,000 Kenyan shillings. Passport endorsements, initially it was 500 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment it will cost you 10,000 Kenyan shillings for passport endorsement. Renunciation, initially it costed 20,000 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment it will cost 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Citizenship by marriage, initially it was 30,000 Kenyan shillings, at the moment 100,000 Kenyan shillings. The East African Community Partner State, initially it was 5,000 Kenyan shillings, at the moment 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Registration of citizenship for widows and widowers, initially it was 20,000 Kenyan shillings, at the moment 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Citizenship by registration for lawful residents, initially it was 200,000 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment it will only cost you 1 million Kenyan shillings. By registration for children and dependents, initially it was 20,000 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment it will cost 100,000 Kenyan shillings. Citizenship by registration for stateless person, initially it was 2,000 Kenyan shillings, at the moment it will cost 10,000 Kenyan shillings. Citizenship by registration for migrants, initially it was 2,000 Kenyan shillings, at the moment 10,000 Kenyan shillings. Citizenship by registration for descendants of stateless persons and migrants, initially it was 2,000 Kenyan shillings, at the moment 10,000 Kenyan shillings. And a permanent residence. Ex-citizen of Kenya, like the processing, initially it was 10,000 Kenyan shillings, at the moment 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Lawful residents processing, initially 10,000 Kenyan shillings, currently 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Ex-citizen of Kenya insurance, initially 50,000 Kenyan shillings, at the moment 100,000 Kenyan shilling. Lawful residents, initially 50,000, currently 200,000 Kenyan shillings. Children of Kenyan citizens born outside Kenya, initially 100,000 Kenyan shillings, currently 200,000 Kenyan shillings. Spouses of Kenyan citizen, initially it was 5,000, currently 50,000. So that's under permanent residence. Then we go to immigration visas and other consular fees. Single journey visa, initially $50, currently $100. Multiple journey visa, initially $100, currently $500. Extension of visa after 6 months, initially it was free, currently $200. Sanction fee for overstaying, initially it was free, currently $100. Referral visa, initially $10, currently $100. Business visa, initially it was free, currently 1,000 US dollars. Visa fees for children of Kenyans initially free, currently $200. Alien card fees initially 2,000 Kenyan shillings, currently 10,000 Kenyan shillings. Electronic travel authorization, what we call ETA, initially it was free, currently $30. Penalty for failure to renew the alien card for each year defaulted, initially 1,000 Kenyan shillings, currently it will be 10,000 Kenyan shillings. The passport fee, the diplomatic passport that has 50 pages, initially it was 7,500 Kenyan shillings, but it has doubled to 15,000 Kenyan shillings. The ordinary passport, which has 34 pages, initially it was 4,500 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment you have to part with 7,500 Kenyan shillings. The ordinary passport, which has 50 pages, initially it was 6,000 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment you'll have to part with 9,500 Kenyan shillings. The ordinary passport, 66 pages one, initially it was 7,500 shillings, but at the moment it will cost you 12,500 Kenyan shillings only. The temporary permit has not changed. Replacement of a lost passport, it was 12,000 Kenyan shillings, but now it will cost 20,000 Kenyan shillings only. On work permit investors class G, it costed 100,000 Kenyan shillings, but now it will cost 250,000 Kenyan shillings only. Work permit investors class D, initially it costed 200,000 Kenyan shillings, but at the moment it will cost 500,000 Kenyan shillings. Express work permits, $10,000. Special pass processing fees, $200. Dependent pass processing fees, $200. Student or internship pass processing fees, $100. Work permit processing fees, initially it costed 10,000 shillings, but at the moment it will cost you 30,000 Kenyan shillings. Dependent pass insurance fees for spouses to Kenyans, 30,000 Kenyan shillings. Reprocessing fees for rejected permits, 20,000 Kenyan shillings. Validation of work permit fees, $100. Student or internship pass issuance fees, initially it costed 5,000 shillings, but at the moment it will cost 20,000 Kenyan shillings only. Cancellation of work permit or bank guarantee, 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Initially it was free. Confirmation of residence and copies of work permits, initially it was free, currently 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Query of status of work permits, citizenship or permanent residence, initially it was free, currently 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Registration of births and deaths, certificate of current birth, initially 50 Kenyan shillings, currently it will cost you 200 Kenyan shillings. Certificate of current death, initially 50 Kenyan shillings, currently it will cost 200 Kenyan shillings. Late registration of birth certificate, initially 150 Kenyan shillings, currently it will cost 500 Kenyan shillings. Late registration of death, initially 150 Kenyan shillings, at the moment 500 Kenyan shillings. Re-registration of death, initially 90 Kenyan shillings, currently 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Foreign registration of birth in our mission abroad, initially $50, currently $150. Foreign death by missions abroad, initially it was $50, currently $150. Verification of certificate for private in bracket Kenyan agency, initially it was free, currently 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Verification of certificate for private in bracket foreign agencies, initially free, currently $100. Verification of certificate for GOK agencies, initially free, currently 500 Kenyan shillings. Amendments of both birth and death certificates, initially 130 Kenyan shillings, currently 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Vital statistical reports for private agencies, initially it was free, currently 2,000 Kenyan shillings. Vital statistical reports for GOK, initially free, currently 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Presumed death certificate, initially 150 Kenyan shillings, currently 1,500 Kenyan shillings. To all Kenyan citizens, kindly take note of those key changes And for foreigners, whether you've come for a visit or you are in Kenya with work permit or you have passport issues or visa issues, take note of those few changes that have been made by the Kenyan government.